All right, video number 3 today. Because I don't have all week to sit here and record videos, when I have a day, I do them. Welcome back to We Die Like Men. I'm Mike. And today, for this video, I wanted to get into cars a little bit more. Um, and not like so much specific cars. I know it's not just me because I've talked to a lot of other people. There's always those certain cars that we've had in our lives, especially when you get older, like me, and you've owned a handful or in some cases a lot of different vehicles, and you've had some really nice cars maybe, and you've had some probably not so nice cars. Maybe you're still driving some kind of shitbox stuff. That's fine. You got a car, it gets you around, it does what it needs to do. um, but there's always those few that stick with you. For me, and kind of what I wanted to focus on some of this video was that your first car. Now, I have owned, I don't know, 20 something vehicles because a lot of times I've had 2 or 3 cars at once between my wife and myself, but we've had 2 or 3. Now, when I say 3, a lot of times the third one was not something we drove very often or at all. But I had it and I had driven it at one time. Um, but that first car, picture, for a lot of us, we were high school, maybe junior, senior, maybe sophomore for some, and you get your first car. Now, it's usually either a hand me down from mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, older sibling, whatever. Maybe you worked your butt off and you had $500-600, $1,000, whatever you could scrimp together, and you bought a car. Maybe mom and dad helped you and they said, "Hey, look, I'll match up to X amount of dollars. If you have 800, I'll give you 800 towards a car." Whatever. You got it. Great. It's your first car. Chances are it is that epitome of a shitbox. It runs, it's safe, it gets you to school every day. You don't have to ride the damn bus. It gets you to your job. You can go visit your girlfriend or whatever. You can go hang out with your buddies. You're not taking this thing on a 600-mile road trip because chances are it's going to burn through too much oil and it's going to cost you too much money. If it's like a lot of ours were. High mileage, nothing fancy. Maybe you were the kid that got the fancier car because grandma and grandpa were like, "Hey, I've got this car. We're going to go buy a new one. Here, you have ours." And they had a really nice car and you got it. Maybe grandma and grandpa's car was something you weren't interested in. 1976 Dodge Monaco 4-door, banana yellow. I say that because my parents had one of them. 76 Dodge Monaco 4-door. It had been bright yellow. It was more like a cream yellow. It was faded. I don't know how bright a yellow it had been, but it was yellow nonetheless. Super comfortable. We drove it to Florida and back, towing a camper a couple times. I mean, literally, you're sitting on the living room sofa in the back seat. I mean, I'm not super tall. I'm about 5'9.5", 5'10", and at that point in time, I was probably 5'8", and I could sit there and put my feet straight out, and I could touch the back seat, but I wasn't. I could actually do that. I'll put my leg out. I'm actually putting my leg out now. You can't see it. That's how stupid I am some days. Um, but my first vehicle had been my dad's. He bought it used. It had been a commercial pickup truck. I think one of the fish markets around here had it. It was a 1984 Ford F-250, two-wheel drive, 302 V8, automatic with overdrive. Basic, simple truck. Nothing fancy. Had power steering and power brakes. Had an AM/FM radio. Didn't even have a rear slider. It was had been fire engine red. It was faded and oxidized. But if I'd wanted to wax it, it probably would have come back. White steel wheels, 16-inch rims, 8-foot bed, regular cab. No AC, no nothing fancy. Gray vinyl bench seat, black rubber floor mats, no headliner, just the painted inside of the metal roof. I love that truck. I miss that truck. Uh, he bought it, had it as a truck. We had a car. Dad used to buy a lot of like Oldsmobiles, like Delta 88s and stuff like that, like early mid 80s, kind of GM, Buick, Oldsmobile, things like that. That's what we drove as a family. The truck was more going hunting or fishing, or he was always doing some project around the house. It got used for that when he retired from the fire department and we moved back up north. He ran a landscaping business, and the truck got used hauling a landscaping trailer. Now, this is in the mountains. Everything's up one hill, down the next, or up side of a mountain, down the next. Eventually lost the transmission. He parked it. Fast forward, I get my license. He pays to have it fixed. I worked for the company. I paid him back. The truck became mine. New transmission, brakes, just went through the safety stuff, and obviously the transmission. The driver's floorboard along the door rail, the lower door frame, there was a gap that wide where you could look right down and see the ground. It was rotted out. The dimmer switch on the floor, I went to go dim my high beams, and I pushed it right through the floor once. I patched that up. I think I ended up patching up the other thing eventually or whatever. I put bucket seats in it. They were offset a little bit because I didn't know what I was doing. I was a dumb kid in high school. Um, Muffler fell off, and the truck didn't get any louder because the catalytic converter that it had, I think, was so plugged. Cleaned that out. Nothing that a piece of rebar and a sledgehammer wouldn't fix. Ended up having to put another muffler on it because it was a little too loud. It was just a good old truck. I heading into town one night and come off the dirt road I lived on onto the paved road, hit the throttle, and snapped the throttle cable. Got up behind the back seat, had some speaker wire, ran it from the carburetor down through the firewall, tied it off to the throttle pedal, and I could get about half throttle, maybe a little more than half throttle, and it got me to town and back. Ordered in a throttle cable and replaced it. It was a shitbox. The plastic bed liner, you pulled it out, there was no bed underneath of it. When I said it had been used by a fish company, this is in Portland, Maine. I was a lobster and seafood company. That truck spent its whole life right next to the ocean, parked on a pier with salt water underneath of it. We put salt on our roads in the winter. That thing was hauling in and out of the harbor. Yeah, the frame was solid. Most of the body was solid. It was the bed and right along the door frame, in the driver's side only, of the floorboard that was gone. It ran like a top. I never had any mechanical issues with the engine. I had to do valve cover gaskets. I did a tune-up, stupid stuff like that. What I was had to replace the little black box in it, the Sparkomatic or whatever they call that. Sparks. And my dad had done that when he owned it when I was younger, shortly after he bought it. Shut it off, left it parked for a couple weeks. We went on vacation and come back and it wouldn't start. So that's what it was. That had gone bad. Not an uncommon thing. Buddy of mine, his first vehicle he had lived just up, not too far from me, up in Rangeley. He had a 1978 Datsun 210 station wagon. We called it the Dragon Wagon. Total piece of crap. We loved that thing. We could pile a bunch of us into it. It had shag carpet in it. I'm not kidding you, like the real shag carpet. Um, we wired in a stereo. We did something wasn't quite right, and it was running too much voltage through the speaker wires or drawing too much through it. And the bear where we twisted them together was laying on the carpet, and it started to catch fire one night. We're like, what's burning? And I looked down the path, like, I reached down, like, oh, that's hot. So dumped some of my Arizona iced tea on it, and we ended up getting some like wire nuts, like electrical in the house wire nuts, and yeah, um, drove that thing until it just puked, and that was it. Um, Automatic. I don't even know what those had for an engine, and a little 4-cylinder, whatever it was. Great little car. Um, most of us had that. Now, one of our buddies, kid I'm really still close friends with, um, his graduation present, we graduated in '95, was a 1995 Honda Civic Del Sol, the little two-seater with a removable, like hardtop blue one. That was his graduation present. A set of twin girls I graduated with, when they got their license, they got a brand new, what was that, about 93, 94, 1994, I think. Four-door Chevy Blazer, loaded. I don't think it had leather, but other than that, it was loaded, brand new. Here you go. Here's your car. So there was a mixture of us, brand new or very close to brand new, to oh my god, I can't believe the thing's still running. You know, get to school and before anybody left, it's like it made sure everyone's car started because we may have to jump start somebody. Great. You know, I push started that Datsun 210 with my F-250 because neither one of us had jumper cables. And Aaron, he's like, "Can you push start an automatic?" I'm like, "Well, let's find out." And I gently put my bumper against really the back tailgate because our bumpers did not line up. My truck, it was a three-quarter ton, but I think it was a heavier suspension because it set up like a four-wheel drive, almost like the old High Boys. That thing had tons of ground clearance. Everyone thought it was four-wheel drive. I'm like, no, unfortunately, it's not. I just carried a lot of logs in the back in the winter to get some traction. So you can do it with a two-wheel drive, even in an area like that, but I don't recommend it if you don't have to. And I pushed him all the way to the parking lot. It was a long road coming out of school. Down, and just as we got around, I got up to like 35. He tooted his horn. I hit the brakes, and he dropped it right into low, and she chugged and started, and off he went. Funniest thing ever. God, I think back to some of the fun times we had, things we used to do in those cars. God. Anyways, I'm not going to get into some of them details, but your first car leaves an impression on you. It's not the car to me. It was freedom. I get up in the morning, get ready to go to school. I don't have to go wait at this bus stop and wait for the bus to come and pick me up and ride. Small, small town. I lived in Rangeley Plantation. The bus picked everyone up. Our school was K through 12, so everyone got picked up at once. You're on this bus with kindergartners to, well, the few seniors that didn't drive. You know, I go out, it's there. It's right where I left it. The radio's turned to the station I want it on. My stuff's right there. My seat's in my position. All my shit's there. Fire it up. Let it warm up. Put it in gear. It was gonna stall. That Ford did all the time. Didn't matter the temperature. Replaced the choke. Had an electric choke. Redid that. Would still do it. Immediately neutral. Fire it up. Drive. Go. Just didn't matter. First time in the morning. It was only like after it sat all night, or if it sat for a very long time, or I say very long, 9, 10 hours or more. But that's what it was. It wasn't fast. It seemed it to me, but it really wasn't fast. Probably a good thing. It was freedom. It was independence. It was, I go to school, I get out of school, I don't have to worry about catching the bus, having them drop me in town for work, which meant I had to take a different bus, which I really wasn't supposed to. Um, but that was, I now drove to my job, and I worked and I made some money, and I had to pay for my own insurance, which it wasn't much. I mean, God, I think I had liability only on it. I think it was like $140 or $150 for the year back in '94. Oh, it's the wife. I'll get to her in a minute. Um, Good news, bad news. I don't know. Well, she still loves me. I guess that's good news. Um, and my gas was, I was paying like $1.10 a gallon. Who cared? Um, I would drive it out of town. I would head, 60, 70 miles. Oh God, more than that, close to 100 miles down to Lewiston Auburn area for different things. Stay at my cousin's house and then drive home. I mean, but it was freedom. It was great. It wasn't fancy. It was probably one of the worst cars I ever owned in the sense of the vehicle itself. Um, I don't know. I had a '72 International Scout that I sold that truck for that was worse. But really, it was kind of the epitome of the shitbox. But I loved it. It was freedom. It was fun. It was mine. It was a responsibility. It was a huge responsibility because now I'm driving you know, a 5,000 pound automobile, and if I screw up, me and or other people are going to get seriously injured or killed. It taught me that responsibility. It was awesome. I freaking loved it. And I made money with that truck. Like I said, my parents ran a landscape lawn care, very light excavation. We had a John Deere with a bucket and a backhoe on it, and we'd do some stuff. Mom did house cleaning, a lot of camps and stuff like that. And there was some side jobs that dad couldn't get to, and I would go do them. And I remember going to this job one time. Really nice older couples, their summer place on the lake, cute place, not huge but very nice place. And it was a lot of brush. I was there cutting brush. He was working right alongside me, but he was a man in his mid to late 60s, I would say, and really nice guy. And we had the contract for two of his neighbors. Um, so he mowed his own lawn when he was up there, usually, although we did sometimes for him. Wanted this brush cleared up. So I went in, we were cutting brush, we were loading it in my truck. I'd run it to the dump, get rid of it, stuff like that. He'd never pick up there. And I don't know, I think I was charging him $12 an hour. We took a quick break. It was hot. Sat on the back porch. His wife brought us out lemonade or iced tea. We were just sitting there shooting the shit. And he's like, all right, he says, you're 12 an hour. He said, how much an hour on the truck? And I said, well, that's just me. He thought and he shook his head. He goes, I'm going to teach you something. He said, is that truck free? I mean, he says, does it didn't cost you anything to buy it? Doesn't cost you. Is your gas free? Is your oil changes free? Is your insurance free? Your inspection free? I said, well, no. He said, then why are you letting me have it for free for the day? He said, you're $12 an hour for you. He said, you should be $8 an hour minimum, $10 an hour for your truck. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. And that's what he paid me. $12 an hour for me, $8 an hour for the truck, $20 an hour. He says, that truck, you've got to put gas in it. You've got to change your oil. You're wear and tear on your tires and everything else. It's got to make you money. Now, maybe it only makes you enough to cover the expenses of it, but other times it's going to make you enough to make you a profit for the truck. And then there's your hourly. Well, that's what I started doing. You want me? Great, I'm $12 an hour. You need me to use my truck? It's $8 an hour more for my truck. Not, I drive there and I drive home, that's fine, that's on me. But if my truck's putting work in, so the truck ended up making me money. And it was great. And word gets around. Hey, you got a pickup? Yeah. I moved people. I don't know how many times I loaded up and moved people. You know, somebody get a new apartment, I'd load them up. It was $30, whatever. I hauled firewood for people. All that kind of shit. I hauled boats around for people that summer residents that they had a little Subaru or whatever they were driving and didn't have a tow hitch. That first vehicle sticks with you. And now I've owned some pretty damn nice vehicles since then. We've got a 2023 Ford Bronco that we bought brand new. I've owned one, two, three, four, I think five brand new vehicles, and a couple that were pretty close to being brand new. So, but I've owned those shit boxes too, and they just stick with me more. I still technically have a 1986 Ford Mustang GT, 5-liter HO. It is the automatic, unfortunately, T-tops. It's no good anymore. It's just been neglected. It's rotting away. I got to figure out what to do. I'd like to pull the engine. It only has about 97,000 on it, I think, on the engine. Transmission is a automatic with overdrive. They're not the greatest of trannies. They're all right, and those rear ends are not the greatest. I may pull the whole drivetrain and scrap the rest. Um, but it was even that was kind of a special vehicle. It was never, when I had it, it was never in like pristine shape by any means. You can ask my wife. I had that when we first started dating, 2002, and yeah, it was pretty crappy. Passenger side window had a chunk of 2x4 holding it up because the motor had gone bad. So, you know, yeah. Couldn't open the driver's side door from the outside for a while until I got that fixed. I broke the door handle. Engine ran strong, transmission ran shifted well, things like that. Sounded pretty decent. Didn't look so great. It needed a lot of work then. And I parked it when I got a better vehicle. Better. Um, I just think there's a few. My 2006 Chevy Trailblazer SS with the all aluminum LS2 6 liter in it. Great. I love that thing. All wheel drive, black. Uh, Super, super fun vehicle to drive. Not good on fuel. 410 gears, all wheel drive, 4 speed automatic with no overdrive. I mean, the thing would rip off the line, but man, it did not like highway driving. I mean, it did it, but it sucked fuel bad. And that's one reason I got rid of it. It was time. I had that for a handful of years, and it was like, I need a truck. I got rid of it. Got my big Ram that I had. I loved that. Um, I've had several pickup trucks. I've had Jeeps. I owned a lot of different Jeeps. Um, I had a Honda Prelude SI in '86. Loved that. I bought that right after I graduated. So I had my pickup for a few years. Got rid of it. Got that Scout. Only had that for a handful of months, and it just needed more work than I was able to do. Got my Prelude. Had that for quite a few years, but through all of them, and I can't even think of all of them that I've owned. I've owned my Suburban. I loved my '01 Suburban. I loved that. The Volkswagen Golf. I got my wife as her first car. That was only a few years old. That thing was awesome. All of it. I still always go back to that old Ford, that old F-250. It was a hunk of junk, but I loved it because, like I said, it was freedom. It wasn't the vehicle that was so nice. It was the concept of it. It was the what it provided me. It was that I learned a lot about life sitting behind the wheel of that truck. I had heartaches. I had uh, great joy. I had times of sadness. I got the shit scared out of me sometimes by almost hitting something or someone. I had somebody run out in front of me between parked vehicles. I didn't see them, and I almost hit them, and it scared the shit out of me, and it taught me to pay more attention. I was only doing 25, but it still would not have been good for them. Um, you know, I almost hit moose and deer with it. Matter of fact, I think I did hit a deer with it once. Um, Not hard. The deer got up and ran off. So um, I got stuck in the middle of the woods with it and had to walk for miles to get help out bird hunting after school. I just, I spent hours underneath of it tinkering on whatever, even though it ran fine, fixing a little leak here or there, or trying to make it cooler, or whatever. It just, I don't know. If you've never owned vehicles, or maybe I know people that are like, I drive a car. I don't, it gets me to work. It gets me where I want to go. To them, it's just, it's, you know, it's no different than their coffee mug. It holds coffee. I drink it. I don't give a shit. You know, I mean, I literally know people that you ask them what they drive, and they're like, what is that thing? Oh, it's a Toyota. I don't Camry. Is that Toyota? They don't even know the model of their car. They have no idea what engine's in it. They have no idea anything about it. And which, okay, that's fine. You don't have to know all that stuff. Some of us get more into that. To them, a car is a necessity that they have to get around and do things in life. They don't care. They buy a new one when the mechanic's like, yeah, no, it's probably time to get a new one. Okay, you know. Some of them are like, well, I've only had it a couple years. Why. But yeah, if you're into cars at all, some of them have a bit of a soul. Not literally, but they have a personality. That truck had a lot of personality, which is a nice way of saying it was a pile of crap. But it was my pile of crap. And every once in a while, there's one that's around here, used to be, that was almost identical to it. I don't know if it was an '84 because there's a few years there where they look basically the same. Red. That one is four-wheel drive. But other than that, it looks identical. And I'd see it and it was just like, oh man, does that take me back? And I wish the guy would have sold it because if I'd ever seen a for sale sign, I don't know where he lived. I'd just see it, out and about. I would have probably found a way to buy it just to have it back, have one like it back in my life. I find as I get older, that's the things I want more is that, the things I had as a kid or as a young adult. Um, I much prefer the older vehicles in a lot of ways. They're simple, they're easy. Turning 50 this year, I wish I'd had the money and the foresight a year ago or more to try to find like a 1976 pickup truck, either Ford or GM or even a Dodge. I like Chrysler too. Um, that needed some work, but that I could have fixed up. So on my 50th birthday this year, take it for a drive. Truck and I'd be the same age, at least the same year, and that would have been cool. But don't have the money for it. Don't have the time. Probably could have had the time, but and the place to tear one apart and work on it. But maybe we'll see. Maybe we can do that for my 60th. That'd be cool. Let me know if you're into cars at all, or even if you're not like a super gearhead guy or something like that. But that first car, maybe it's the one that took you to college. Maybe it's the one that you know you drove away from your wedding in. I don't know. We had a Jeep Liberty, a 2004 Jeep Liberty that was almost brand new. We bought it in '06. Been a lease, had like 20,000 miles on it. We had that 9 years. That brought both of our kids home from the hospital when they were born. They're about 3 years apart. So '07 and 2010. Um, and we bought it in '06. We got rid of it in 2015. 90 something thousand on it. Loved it. Underpowered, not a ton of room inside. Great in the snow. Really, really good in the snow. Even in two-wheel drive. Weight balance was pretty even on that front and rear, so it did well. I ran good tires. My wife misses it some too. That was her. That was the first vehicle she drove a lot. We got her the yep, Golf. That was an '04 four-door Golf that had 68,000 miles on it in 2 years. If it had been sitting at a Volkswagen dealer, I would have thought it was brand new, but it was at our local GM dealer in their used car lot. So I'm going to guess like a traveling salesman or something. Somebody put a ton of miles on that. And my wife didn't get her license until she was in her 20s. She just didn't care. When I bought it, she didn't even have her license yet. Um, we had that for a while, found out she was pregnant, and it was way too small to put with a baby seat. We had one in the back, the rear facing. Couldn't put the seat back far enough. Had it in the middle, because that's where I think the anchor point was or whatever. I couldn't put the driver's seat back enough to drive. So got rid of it, got the Liberty, which is what I wanted to get her in the first place. But she wanted something tiny, she thought. So, anyways, I love that car. But it still doesn't hold the same meaning as that old Ford. So, take it for what it's worth. This video is getting a little longer than I thought it would be. Let me know. That old car. Man, there's always memories. I don't know where that truck is. I sold it off to an excavation company that used it as a commercial truck for a couple of years. I don't even know what the mile. When I got rid of it, it had to be 160 on it probably. Um, they sold it to a guy that worked at the local lumber yard who was building his house up on the side of the mountain. He used it for hauling a trailer full of material, and I mean like crushed rock, two by fours, cement block, whatever. And he used it for years, and then drove it around some as just a beater pickup. And I don't know what happened to it. I'm sure it's gone now. I'm sure it's either pushed off behind a garage or a barn somewhere and rotted away, or it was sold for scrap or totaled out or whatever. I wish I could figure out the VIN number, see if that truck still exists anywhere, but I don't have any of the old paperwork. So until then, drive safe, be good, see you around.